Welcome to EMIC Training, Growth with Creativity and Challenge.
As a professional speaker, one of my goals was to do a presentation on every inhabited continent. They don't do a lot of presentations in Antarctica. And last year I achieved my goal of speaking on every single continent. But it didn't start that way. My first presentation, I was incredibly nervous. I was just doing a short presentation in front of a college class when I was a freshman in college, speaking to just a few people in a small room. I was incredibly nervous and I was trying to hold my notes, but my hand was shaking so bad I couldn't read the notes. So I grabbed it with my other hand and all that did was make it worse, and I started shaking twice as much. I barely made it through that first presentation. So how did I become a professional speaker and end up speaking on every single continent? Two things. Number one, practice. Every time I did a presentation, every time I got in front of people, I got a little less nervous. But if it feels so bad to do a presentation, how are you going to keep doing it? And I have one important tip for you. Tell stories. Talk about what you know. I was nervous because I didn't know what I was talking about. I was nervous because I was just talking about information that wasn't really relevant to me and I didn't really understand. As I speak all over the world, I don't share a lot of bullet points. I don't try to focus on dense information. I try to tell people stories, examples that illustrate what I'm talking about. I make a point and I tell a story. I make a point and I tell a story. Think about the way I started this short presentation here. I told you a story about that presentation in a computer class. I told you a story about how I was nervous. I told you a story about how one of my goals was to speak on every continent. People love stories. Examples help to illustrate what you're talking about. When you give presentations, one way to reduce anxiety and to also increase your effectiveness, increase your audience's ability to understand, is to tell them stories. Look at what you're trying to communicate and think back throughout your life, and also things you've experienced and things you've read and things you know. It doesn't always have to be your story, but a story that's meaningful to you. If you tell stories, you'll be more effective as a public speaker and you'll reduce your anxiety.
EMIC Training, Growth with Creativity and Challenge.